This is Multiplaying, Episode 9 on September 29th, 2009.
Greetings, gamers. This is Azul, and you're listening to
Multiplaying!
Because if I do enough of these, they might let me stay.
Hello, you're listening to Multiplaying. We are a companion podcast to multiplaying.net, a blog, forum, and community that's gaming as time allows. Hosting today is Jason.
Hey.
Shannon.
Hello.
Myself, Steve. And we have a special guest this episode. It's Brad Wardell, President and CEO of Stardock. Stardock, for those of you who don't know, is a PC company, a software company specializing in Windows experience software and PC games. We are very, very glad to have him with us today. So this week, what you been playing, Jason?
Mostly Ion. The time I've gotten to play, it launched last week. I've gotten up to level 22, I want to say, playing the Channer. A lot of fun. I've gotten to do a lot of group stuff with the guild, and just being back in the game with the guild has been a ton of fun. That's all I've gotten a chance to play.
How about you, Shannon?
I'm all about Ion, and just for those who want to know, they took out the private store option, but if you just walk away and go AFK, it won't kick you out. So you can keep in the server. People probably won't like me for telling people that.
I was off for 5 hours. I came back and
we went out to eat. Came back. Avoided that queue. Sorry to all those who were waiting, but
Me.
yeah, sorry.
That would be me.
Sorry about that, dude.
Not sorry enough to actually care, but sorry.
Yeah.
What are you playing, Steve?
What am I playing?
Yeah.
I have also been playing Ion to go with the bunch, but I also went and picked up Dirt 2 for the PlayStation 3. That is fantastic. I am seriously addicted to that game. Been wanting a good rally racing game for a while, and it is fantastic. But that is about it. So you've been playing any games this week, Brad?
Well, it's a little self-serving, but it really is true. I have been playing Demigod a lot more online, which is funny because when the game first came out, I actually didn't play it that much because I was so into we were working on Elemental at the time. And then recently we were playing PC Gamer, and to practice up to play PC Gamer's editorial team versus the Stardock team. And we got our butts kicked so bad by them that after that I decided, okay, there's clearly a lot more to this than I thought. And then I got sucked into it.
On Demigod?
Yeah, and Demigod. And the worst part is that I had me and Dan Stapleton, PC Gamer. We had been doing smack talk back and forth. And I had actually made a comment. Well, I'm sure that you guys are fine game players for journalists, but as actual gamers here, as in the people you write about, will demonstrate how the games are really played. And I mean,
Ouch.
They destroyed us. Yes, I had to wear a PC Gamer shirt around the office for a week. That was part of the.
Very, very, very sorry about that.
Yeah, well, I got what I had coming to me.
So
what character did you play so I can avoid it?
Well, actually, it's a good character. I played as who did I play as? I played as Erebus, and I've gotten a lot better since then. Erebus, the Vampire Lord, and he really is a very good character when played by someone who's competent.
Which would not be me. I stick to for the most part.
That's a good tip. Get competent first.
Yes.
Is that about all you've been playing this week?
Oh, that and Elemental, because we have a milestone on Thursday, and so what I've been doing, I've been playing Debugger, the game, and that is one of my. I have this weird. I'm a kook, and one of my pet peeves about games are startup times. That is, from the time I double click any icon, how quickly I'm into the game playing it, and Elemental is just such a pig. And so I started literally going line by line in the debugger, figuring out, well, why is it so slow? And so that's what I've been playing this week, is getting its time down to just a couple of seconds.
So for those that don't know anything about Elemental, I know a little bit about it from looking it up. What is Elemental? Explain it for everybody.
Sure. Elemental is a turn-based fantasy strategy game where you're the sovereign of a kingdom or an empire who's trying to build up a civilization, kind of like what you'd see in a typical strategy game like Civilization, except this exists on a fantasy world. It's similar to games like Master of Magic or Age of Wonders and that kind of thing for people who are interested in that kind of game. And so it won't be out until next year, but that's what we're working on presently.
Gotcha. You don't have any sort of about release date for that?
Basically, it's when it's done. I mean,
It's
kind of a labor of love. We've been wanting to do this game for years and years, and we kept finding a reason to do something else because it was, in the early days of the company, it was kind of hand to mouth, and so we always had to put off what we wanted to work on until we could afford it. And now we can, so I'm pretty sure it'll be done early to mid next year, but really it'll be up to the beta testers.
Gotcha. Is there betas going on right now?
Yeah, we just launched the beta. It closes this Friday.
Oh, great.
Cool. I'm sorry, it closes on Thursday. Basically anyone who pre-orders the game gets access to the beta. And so what we do is that we have them, the betas are very early, so we're talking really crappy. Like dangerously crappy.
Can't wait for this.
Yeah, no, you would not. If you're not into this sort of thing, you should definitely not get into the beta. But the idea is that people who are into this kind of game, who want to help mold the game and get involved early enough to where their ideas can actually be put into the game, that's the type of user we tend to focus on.
Cool. For people that want to pre-order, can you pre-order it on Impulse?
You can. You can go to impulsedriven.com or you can go to elementalgame.com and it's there.
Cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people, us in this group have Impulse and use it. I'm actually considering pre-ordering Tropico 3 with it. But as far as for those who might not know, it's comparable to Steam, but how would you say that Impulse is different, or how do you distinguish it from Steam?
Well, ultimately they're all selling stuff that you purchase. The idea of Impulse is to get your software where you can purchase it, download it, and update it all out with one application. So if I get a new computer, I download Impulse, I type in my user ID and password, and I can start grabbing all my stuff. Where it differs from Steam is that, first of all, Impulse does not just games. So I can get Spore or whatever from Impulse just as I can on Steam, but I can also go and get WordPerfect or WinZip or antivirus programs and
right.
that kind of thing from it as well. In terms of everything else, it really comes down to preference. Steam requires you to have it running to play the games, whereas Impulse is you can close it and run your software without it. We also tend to focus a little bit more on the download speeds. It's kind of one of my big pet peeves. I'm one of those people who buys and rents movies off on my Xbox 360 and my cable and my TiVo and that. And so how fast they download is a major factor on which service I use. And so on Impulse, we have made it a real priority to make sure that if someone has a crazy internet connection, they're getting their 10 megabytes per second. Not 10 megabits, but literally you can download how faster internet connection can go.
I reinstalled Sins of the Solar Empire about a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't know if it was just because of my location to you guys or if those servers are stored there. But yeah, I got up and I went to do something. I came back and was just blown away that it was already done. It was crazy.
Yeah, what we did with Impulse, and I don't know, I'm not privy to how Steam or anyone else is set up, but Impulse actually has servers located, and I'm not talking a handful, sir. I'm talking hundreds of servers that are located all across the world. And what the system does is it takes your IP address and can figure out your geographical location, and then does a quick ping test to see which server is the least, is the most available, and it combines it with how close you are, and then uses that server.
That takes away my dream that I was going to download, and then they would see where I was in relation to Stardock, and some guy would show up with a thumb drive. to give me what I wanted.
Yeah, you should come visit us sometime. I mean, we're just down the street from you guys. I can't believe it. Michigan. That is so awesome. There's there's a webzine or a web magazine, and I can't remember the name offhand, which I feel terrible. But they recently had like a show up here. With their people together, and I was like, "Wow, it's in Michigan," because we often feel like we're out in the middle of nowhere here.
With you guys being in Michigan, is that one of the hardest? Would you say that with it being one of the hardest hit states during the economy, is that like a knock for you guys, or is it really made a difference to you? Is it good that you're away from like the LA or the West Coast gaming industry?
Well, it has its pros and cons. I mean, on the one hand, when we interview people, we have to lie a lot. We invite them up in the middle of summer. You know, we tell them how Michigan is the same latitude as Northern California, and so in a way, it's like being in Northern California.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. And then when the winter comes, we go, "We've never seen a winter like this. What, snow?" And so you feel guilty about that, and obviously the lawsuits and that have been made into a class action suit, which helps on travel time. But but seriously, there are, on the one hand, it makes it harder sometimes to get people, but on the other hand, there isn't a constant. We have extremely low turnover, which is really nice because I mean people who come here tend to this is where they want to work. It's a very stable environment. I think we've had one person voluntarily leave in the past 2-3 years.
Wow.
Nice.
And he took up and we still talk to him every day. He took up a designer position at a console company. You know, so it creates a really nice environment. I think a lot of the reason why our games end up being made for so much less expensively is because we have such low turnover. So the same people making Elemental, for example, are the same people who worked on Galactic Civilizations 2 or the same people who worked on Galactic Civilizations 1 who worked on Political Machine and so on. And so you get to be so good in knowing how everything goes that we can do so much more with so fewer people.
Are you saying that it's because people want to, when they come out to you guys, to Michigan rather than a West Coast, they're more devoted to what you guys are?
Well, it's just more of a self-filtering process, right? I mean, it's if you tend to be someone who switches jobs a lot, and there's a lot of people who do that. They like to experience lots of different companies in their career. Obviously, moving out from San Francisco or Seattle or Dallas to Michigan to try out Stardock is not going to be that great of a thing. So we tend to already filter out that demographic.
Gotcha.
Are most of your employees from Michigan then?
No, most of them are from out of state.
Oh, okay.
Well, Michigan's awesome, so.
It's awesome in the spring, summer, and fall. And we are getting into fall here, and it is pretty awesome up here, I have to say, though not today. But
yeah, today sucked.
Yeah. It was rough.
Even
Bad
down
example.
here.
Yeah.
But with you guys, with your real-time strategy, I had a little personal question. With your real-time strategy that you mentioned with all the games that you've done in the past, you've kind of stuck with that love of real-time strategy. Have you ever thought of venturing out just a little bit and maybe delved into like the massively multiplayer and maybe, I don't know, made an RTS MMO?
Well, we actually have a game called Society, which is an RTS MMO. And yeah, it's not been made. I mean, it's in development.
Oh, great.
It's not released. It's in development.
Why didn't
But it's a long time from now, because one of the things we discovered is just the infrastructure required for an MMO, even a small MMO, is just amazing. I remember when this spring when we launched Demigod. So we're a publisher, and we thought that we had a pretty good setup for Demigod. It worked well in beta, and it just fell apart. It was a total disaster. And I mean, it was one of those things that forever I think people will say, "Oh yeah, Demigod, that's that game that shipped where the multiplayer was broken for the first 3 weeks."
Right.
And and that's a case where we had 12 servers clustered together on day one, and that still wasn't enough. And I can't even imagine what an MMO would require, because in order to fix Demigod, I mean, we ended up having to set up a worldwide network of servers and stuff. And this is just for RTS. Can you imagine what I have my friend at Blizzard, I'm friends with one of the senior Battle.net engineers, and the infrastructure behind Battle.net is just awe-inspiring. What they have to do there, it's just crazy. I mean, imagine thousands of people dedicated to keeping that running.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot, as a player, you don't realize all that's going on behind the scenes.
And there's not a lot of forgiveness. I mean, once you start charging people,
I'm paying you. It better be open.
Exactly. I mean, if people come home and they can't get on, they don't care, or there's a queue, people get very upset, and they don't care about the reasons why.
Yeah, we've been dealing with that with Ion.
And I've been very understanding of Ion because I've not had to deal with the queue very much.
Did you stay in game?
Yeah.
Well, I remember before Demigod had come out, I even was kind of critical. Like, don't these guys know? Haven't they ever seen all these art? Why can't they prepare themselves? How can these guys always get caught, unprepared? And then there we are, a month later, put our face on the wall there, and like, oh my God, how many machines does it take?
Yeah.
With all the harsh reception that Demigod did actually come out to, I mean, do you think it has passed that? Do you think it will ever be looked back on and not be tainted by those initial reviews with the multiplayer problems?
Oh yeah, I was in fact we were looking at Metacritic today, and my Stardock standards were disappointed with the overall reviews because those first couple reviews really zinged it. But it's ironic; its average review overall is 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
And that's, you can imagine if it had, which of course is, I was talking to Chris Taylor and I have talked about it on occasion, is that it's what the tragedy is that, so here's a game that basically for the first 3 weeks you couldn't play multiplayer, and this is a multiplayer centric game, and it's still averaged 4 out of 5. Can you imagine what it would have gotten if it had actually worked?
Right.
6 out of 5.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is I saw one of your readers on your site say, "Well, I should ask about League of Legends." And I'm actually friends with people at Riot, and that's one of the other things that's kind of gamers. I'll see them online in these forums arguing with each other, getting loyal to one game or other, and they don't realize that the game developers were often buddies with each other because when we go to these shows, these are the people these are our friends, right? So, And the fact is that Demigod has some really great game mechanics, and long term, I'm not sure. I still am a big believer in single player experiences should be a prerequisite on, not on an MMO obviously,
right,
but on any traditional game you should not ever give up on the single player experience and then have in favor of multiplayer.
Gotcha. With all of now you're talking about buddies in the industry and stuff. With that and looking at other games, do you ever grab inspiration for your games from other games, or is it pretty much? I see that you guys, with being so as the 500-pound gorilla as far as RTS games, you guys make some of the best RTS games, but with that, do you still get inspiration from other companies?
Well, first on with Demigod was designed by Gas Powered Games, so really
right.
Gas Powered Games deserves credit on that. Since it was Solar Empire, that was developed by Ironclad, and I mean, you want to talk about some real geniuses. The guys at Ironclad are just amazing to people, and I don't just say that in a generic. I love working with them. I mean, they really are just awesome. But personally speaking, on our games that we work on, some people say that they look at making games as a craft and it's craftsmanship. I'm a thief. I make no bones. I will rip off from whatever game I make.
Brad Wardell's a thief.
I was talking to. I remember this was in an interview a while back, but I was talking about a meeting. Do you know who Soren Johnson is? He was the lead designer of Civilization 4.
Oh, okay.
And I was telling him about our trouble with making rivers and roads look good in Elemental. And so we actually talked about the algorithm they used in Civ 4, and we literally proved that's going. Yes. And so when I go and play Master, see, because I'm not really a game developer. I'm just a gamer who happens to know how to code. So when I play Master of Magic or Civ 4 or Age of Wonders or heck, League of Legends or what have you, I'll go, "Ooh, I want that," and we'll put it in there because I have no shame.
So all the reviews for Elemental will say, and the rivers look eerily similar to.
Yeah, the game has a unique look, except for the river.
I've seen it before.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to cover a little bit about your stance on digital rights management. That's the landscape for DRM has changed in PC games, or I should say, I guess that's my question. Do you think it's changed in the last few years, the landscape of DRM?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think something happened, and I don't think we were really that much a part of it, but something happened where the user base of gamers said enough. I don't know. I think if I had to put my finger on it, I would say the Sony Rootkit was a turning point where people would say, you know what, that's enough.
Right.
I'm just not going to buy this stuff. And with the power of social networking that we have, it gets out there. I mean, and I've always said that because the argument I usually hear is that, well, Brad is just being naive if he doesn't think there's piracy. And I said, well, of course there's piracy. The question isn't whether there's piracy. The question is, is that piracy actually costing you sales? Are you losing sales? And that's the question. The answer is yes, you are losing some, but are you gaining more by not annoying your particular demographic? Like our demographic for our games tend to be people 25 and older. In other words, people with jobs who don't sweat paying $40. Mm-hmm. But they do sweat if they're going to be annoyed by copy protection.
Right, like a new Quake or Doom game that comes out might get a little bit affected by piracy, but not so much the demographic that you're going after.
Exactly, and one of the things that, like on Impulse, that's been a tough line is that some games on Impulse have copy protection. They're not ours. I mean, most of them don't. But what we did do, because we usually try to talk the publisher out of doing it, but we're still small fry, and I mean if Steam, a lot of people don't realize same goes for Steam too. It's not. I mean, Steam will often have their wrapper on top of Securom or whatever. It's we're all kind of in the same boat. And the thing is that and what we do on Impulse is that we now list what copy protection they use so that people can make an informed buying decision on it.
Oh, cool. With that and just PC gaming in general, what do you think about? I mean, there's been a lot of talk over the last forever that PC gaming has been dying, and we've seen the landscape of PC gaming change quite a bit. I mean, it's changed since I've been a PC gamer, which has really only been for about 10 years, and a lot of people are doom and gloom about it. But what do you see as the PC gaming industry right now? What do you see, especially maybe even with the economy? How do you see PC gaming?
There's so many different factors involved that it would take a show unto itself to go through them all. I mean, first off, historically it's been a console world, but there was a time in the early 90s where there was this crash in the console market. I don't know if you remember, but between the Nintendo and right around the Super Nintendo came out, the console market basically disintegrated. Mm-hmm. And so for a brief window, the PC game market took over and filled the vacuum. But then consoles started coming back, and then that came at some expense with the PC game market. But that doesn't mean the PC game market is dying. It's more of a matter that the market is simply shifting back to where it was traditionally.
Gotcha.
But I would say, and this is something that doesn't come up, but it's kind of like one of those, I don't want to say a dirty little secret of the PC game industry, but a lot of the people who drive PC game development specifically, it's more about what's popular in our, I hate to say it, but almost like what's popular in our game scene. Like I have seen Sins of a Solar Empire be called a niche game, even though it's probably one of the 10 best-selling PC titles of the past couple years. And I see this come up pretty regularly, and it's more of, I want to make the game that everyone considers hot, whether it be it's a certain type of first-person shooter. Everyone wants to make an MMO, for example, right? Obviously. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the numbers, most MMOs fail very, very badly. Mm-hmm. But they're the hot thing to make. Or casual games. How much have we heard about casual games in the past couple of years? But no one ever does a follow-up and say, well, how much actual revenue is there in that genre compared to other markets that are no longer considered sexy. So when a game comes along and makes Elemental will probably come out and sell, as long as we don't screw it up and make a crappy game, it'll probably sell very well, and people will be suddenly surprised. Well, is there suddenly a new demand for turn-based strategy games? And the answer was no, the demand was always there. It just it fell out of favor for a while.
I guess you could probably argue that every genre is a niche genre, but it's just how much profit are they making off of each one? And what's the demand by the developers to actually keep making that because of the profit?
Well, there is a lot of my fellow game developers are very interested in being cool. And I don't mean that in the generic sense of cool, but I mean, we like there's a certain amount of, hey, this is a cool thing to make. It's not sexy to make a turn-based strategy game, right? Or these days, making an adventure game is not going to get the kind of, user base excitement that making a first-person shooter or an MMO might get you. Right. And I think you see a lot of that. Someone's going to come along and make a good old-fashioned adventure game again, and suddenly it's going to do huge numbers. It won't be us because that's not our type of game, but someone will do it, and it'll be this shock that, wow, I guess people are into this kind of game still.
You really hope that they do with seeing the sales of like the Monkey Island games that came back out. I mean, you see those come back out, and people were just, oh, wow, great, Monkey Island. You would think with that, people would turn around and say, make a new adventure game.
Well, exactly. I mean, like I said, there's often the game industry is very different from what we see on our software business. Whereas on the software side, it's just a numbers game. It's just business, and so what gets made in that part of the industry is purely based on maximizing profit. On games, there's this X factor on. And that goes for what gets covered in the media, to what gets made, to what gets, but it often has no reflection of what actually sells. In fact, there's often a disdain towards what's actually in the top 10 on NPD. And that's why it's really hard to take serious the whole PC games are dying thing when there's so much really good stuff to look forward to. You got Dragon Age. It looks just amazing.
Oh,
yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead 2. I know there was some controversy because they're releasing a sequel, but they're doing some really neat stuff with that.
I was just saw a video about that today about one of the new classes, the jockey zombie. On there,
right.
One of the new zombies will actually jump on your back and jockey you and actually make you actually move into hordes of zombies and take you to the witch and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. So and then of course you got Knights of the Old Republic. You have, I like the Star Trek game, StarCraft 2, Diablo 3. I mean, there's some awesome stuff coming out, and a lot of this is only for PC.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking. Like, is it really dying, or is it just? I mean, I don't know where that myth keeps coming from. Just because new consoles come out, like,
well, it's because that there's a couple reasons. One is that the PC, historically, the way PC games were measured was strictly on retail, and MMOs kind of upset that figure. Then you have digital distribution, which is largely unmeasured. So that's been another thing. But even then, the fact is that consoles have really, really taken off, and so by comparison, PCs seem pretty, relatively weak. And I think consoles are only at the beginning of that journey. I mean, look at the Nintendo Wii; it opened up a huge market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, well, we better wrap it up because we're kind of going over.
We're cutting into his time, yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
Thanks for coming on the show. This was amazing.
That was fantastic, man.
Oh no, you guys have to stop by sometime. I can give you a tour.
Okay. All right, take it easy.
Thanks for listening to Multiplaying, the companion podcast to multiplaying.net. The views expressed in this podcast are solely attributable to those who convey them. Our views should not be misrepresented as the official views of anyone or anything else. Questions, comments, feedback, errors, etc. can be sent to multiplaying@gmail.com. We invite you to write a review on iTunes and visit our website at www.multiplaying.net.
Oh, there's a video of me where I brought, I don't know if you know this, but drones don't have stingers. So I brought these drones in, but I didn't tell anyone this. And I videoed it. And I said, okay, you guys said you were allergic to bees. And so there's 4 of you, and there's these 4 bees. So we're going to find out if you're actually allergic to it. And then I will talk. Carrie, do you have the EpiPen? How many do we have? Oh, we only have one. Well, only one of you better be allergic, and so we. But yeah, that's up on YouTube somewhere.